from the Beacon Capital Management Weather Center.
Strong storms possible across the mid-state today. I'm WSMV4 First Alert Meteorologist Stefano DiPietro. We are dry this morning, but this afternoon, keep the umbrella handy, keep an eye to the sky. Scattered showers and thunderstorms between noon and 5 o'clock. Gusty winds and heavier downpours the main concern with any thunderstorm.
6:36 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into Nashville's Morning News, and we've been watching for you everything that is going on in Los Angeles, greater Southern California, and all of these riots have now spread to San Francisco as well. Want to bring in Jonathan Fahey, of course, former acting director of ICE under Trump's administration, #1. Jonathan, always great to have you on. I know that just like me, you've been watching all of these, and I'm air quoting here, the peaceful protests that have been going on in Los Angeles, and we've got burning vehicles. We've got, law enforcement officers. They are being targeted by these protesters, by these rioters. You've got rocks being thrown. You've got Molotov cocktails being thrown at them as well. I mean, it just goes on and on. They have shut down major freeways like the 101, word is today. They may be trying to even shut down the airport. So before we get into some of these specifics, just Jonathan Fahey, give me your first blush opinion on what's going on.
This is all political, and it's fully supported by the Democratic Party. You know, we've seen the escalating rhetoric over the past couple of months of defaming ICE agents, supporting the congresswoman and other people that assaulted ICE agents. And it's really sort of the natural progression of this. And I think the Democrats want to go back to the BLM 2020 summer, which I think in many ways they thought was politically beneficial to them. But it's really disgraceful when you're seeing what's going on in California, because these ICE agents are acting not only lawfully, but totally appropriately by trying to deport illegal aliens and also executing search warrants and things like that. And I don't think, at least I might be wrong, but all of the statements I've seen come out from Democratic politicians seem to be supporting the rioters and not the law enforcement officers, which is really disgraceful. And to the extent any Democratic politician isn't directly involved, they're certainly passively supporting this, and it's really disgraceful. And you look at California with, Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom after, the disastrous handling of the fires, what was that, the end of last year? Yep. And it's like, this isn't just incompetence. This seems to also be a level of malevolence because it's politically driven, and they don't care if they're citizens. They don't care if law enforcement get hurt in the process. They are full-on open border. Well,
the crazy thing, Jonathan, that I don't understand is that you have these people out there like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass and others who say that it's Donald Trump that is fanning the flames by sending in the National Guard. Also, 500 Marines may be deployed as well. But I do find it interesting because the whole point of the National Guard and the whole point of the Marines, if they ultimately come into play as well, is that they're trying to stop the burning of these cars and the closing of the freeways and all that is going on. And so it doesn't even really make any sense that when they say that Trump is the one that is fanning the flames when he's actually trying to put them out.
It's utter nonsense, and I think what they're counting on just the media to carry their water on this. But it really is. It's sort of you see this a lot with the Democrat tactics. They create the chaos and then act like they're the ones standing up to the chaos and try to blame Donald Trump for the chaos. It's so disgraceful. It's so cynical. It's so dishonest. But yeah, you're right. The National Guard will be the ones that calm things down. And if Gavin Newsom and Mayor Bass and other people were serious about doing their jobs, this would have never gotten to this point. But Donald Trump's not supposed to sit back and let cities burn, let his agents get harmed so they could, advance their political career. So he's doing exactly the right thing, and unfortunately they are putting politics ahead of public safety, which they always do. But yeah, it's a standard tactic is create the problem and then act like you're heroic for standing up to the problem that you created. Well, we see it a lot.
Yeah. Speaking of which, this is Gavin Newsom, governor of California. And he is daring Tom Homan to arrest him. Listen.
Max has been here 10 years. The fear, the horror, the hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting.
Wow. That kind of bloviating is exhausting. Isn't that what Gavin Newsom was just doing? Bloviating.
Yeah, I mean, he is so inauthentic. I mean, you feel like this is the guy that tries to sell you the undercoating after you bought the car. I mean, he's so bad. It's funny that anyone would be impressed with this guy. But it's funny, the thing that really is interesting is you would think after the last election there were probably two moves the Democrats could have made on immigration. One, kind of come to the center on it, or two, do what they did, which is double down on open borders. And everyone that wants to increase their standing in the Democratic Party has come out in favor of basically they won't say the words, but full-on open borders and amnesty. And it just shows the Democratic Party, where it is as a party, is so far radically left. They're basically in line with about maybe 5% of the population on this immigration issue. But clearly the politicians, the people in the know on that party, know that's the lane they need to get in if they want to have support within that party.
So one of the things as we look at everything that is happening, not only in Los Angeles, but also San Francisco, is the fact that you have, I don't know, I mean, would you say there's thousands of people that are taking to the streets? I mean, I think there are groups, but I think a lot of these folks, this is where you put your sort of analyst hat on. But I think a lot of these folks are, number one, paid protesters, and number two, you have these same groups that are making their way through Los Angeles. So they're making it look like it's bigger than it really is.
Yeah, it's always hard to tell when you see these things in the media because it's like, and which makes sense. If you're the person in the media, you focus on where the groups are. So it may give the impression that there are more people than they are. But it did seem like some of the live shots, I was on Fox News last night, and they were showing sort of these broader live shots, sort of aerial shots, and they really did seem to be, I'm not an expert on estimating crowd sizes, but it did seem to be probably in the thousands. But, you do wonder what the true number is. And I agree with you there that there are a lot of these paid protesters and groups and things like that just come out to, cause trouble or really advance a political agenda. As we saw during BLM, a lot of those were, in hindsight, were paid protesters and people that were just tearing up cities. And of course, the Democratic politicians endorsed that as well, which is, I think all of us have seen the light for those that didn't see it at the time, that how bad that was.
As a matter of fact, Jonathan, this is the LAPD chief admitting that professional left-wing anarchists are fueling the violence in these riots.
But when I look at the people who are out there doing the violence, that's not the people that we see during the day who are legitimately out there exercising their First Amendment rights and to be able to express their feelings about the immigration enforcement issue. These are people who are all hooded up. They've got a hoodie on. They've got face masks on. They're people who do this all the time, get away with whatever they can, go out there, from one civil unrest situation to another, using the same or similar tactics frequently, and they are connected. Some would call them anarchists or by any other variety of names, but they're people that we run across routinely city to city, and this is what they do. So even more disgusting that many of the people who are doing this come in from other places just to hurt people and to cause havoc.
Yeah, and of course, threaten law enforcement. Got more with Jonathan Fahey coming up next at 6:45. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Antioch, 24 eastbound before Haywood Lane. We've got an accident blocking the two left lanes. Watch for stop-and-go traffic from Harding Place. No problems coming in on 40 or 65. At BNA, watch for ongoing road work. Donaldson Pike at 40. I'm Christy O'Brien.
Scattered thunderstorms today, a high around 82 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jonathan Fahey is joining us. All right, so Jonathan, I got asked this question. We have all of these folks on the left. You have people that are talking about how these are peaceful protests. You've got the media. You've got the Democrats as well. Is it possible? Now, just go with me here. Is it possible that my definition and your definition of a peaceful protest is different than the definition of these folks on the left? Because when we hear Molotov cocktails, when we hear of burning vehicles, when we hear of rocks being thrown, when we hear of law enforcement officials or officers being spit upon, when we see all of these things that are going on, stores being looted, that all that spells, and seems to me like that's, violent protest. That doesn't seem like mostly peaceful to you or me. So I guess the question is, does the left have a different definition of peaceful?
Well, yeah, it's just a euphemism for a violent protest because, when you look at these, the only time the media describes a protest as peaceful, it's when it's violent. Like if you look at in D.C., there's this March for Life, a pro-life protest every year. It's not described as peaceful, and it's 100% peaceful year after year. They only use the words peaceful when it's violent. And if you Google peaceful protest, you'll never come up with an actual peaceful protest when it's used in the news. So, yeah, it's a euphemism. It's to distract. It's dishonest. They know exactly what's going on, but it's because peaceful protest means we as the media agree with these people that are rioting and protest. We agree with their cause, so we're going to do everything we can to obfuscate the bad things they're doing and promote their cause. So, yeah, I don't know that they really think they're peaceful. I think they're trying to mislead the public. And we always see the highlights of that CNN video. I think, I think it was CNN with the guy. It's mostly peaceful with like a building burning behind him. Yep. But it just shows everything you need to know about the mainstream media is when the cause that they're covering dictates the language they use. And, I think most people have now caught on to that game as well.
Well, if you check out my X feed at Dan Mandis Show, you'll see, because I've been tweeting, posting all of these examples of the, and I'm air quoting, peaceful protests, which do include, of course, burning vehicles and the rest of that. Jonathan, I want to play you this audio bite.
They spit, we hit.
That is your old boss, Donald Trump, of course, President Trump. And he's talking about how if these protesters are going to, and they are, if they're spitting on law enforcement officers, ICE agents and so forth, then Trump is saying, basically, and I'm going to interpret this, Trump is saying, okay, so that is assault, and these guys have the right to defend themselves. What do you think about that as an attorney?
I think that's right. I mean, I think if somebody is spitting on you, one, they're putting you in danger. You don't know what disease or anything else. And that's basically part and parcel of a possibly more aggressive assault that coming your way. So I think you certainly do. And if you're walking down the street, somebody spits on you, I would think most people would think it's inherently reasonable to take that person down if you could. So, yeah, and I think he's standing up both in words and action for law enforcement, which we haven't seen in a long time, or certainly with the Biden administration. They were always, making law enforcement the enemy and the criminals the victims. So, yeah, he's standing up for these guys. He's got their back, and we're not playing this game where the law enforcement are the bad guys here, because they're not. They're the ones keeping people safe. And most people, even people in Los Angeles, recognize that because, recently they voted in a new DA after this sort of far left George Gascon was just so out there that they are even tired of the lawlessness in L.A.
Okay, Kilmar Abrego Garcia has been returned from El Salvador. He is now going to face charges here in Nashville in Tennessee. That all came down on Friday. Pam Bondi making the announcement. There have been a lot of battles over the president and Pam Bondi where they deported Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and I'm going to air quote this, without due process. And so now what the Trump administration has done is they've said, okay, you know what? If you folks want him to have some due process, we're going to bring him back to Tennessee, and we are going to level charges, and they have. So, I mean, personally, I didn't want to see him brought back. I think that President Trump legally had every right to get rid of all of these gangbanging dirtbags However, this guy has now been brought back. Does this set a precedent for all of these other illegal alien criminal gang members that we're going to have to now bring them all back and give them their, air quoting, due process because he has now been brought back to the state of Tennessee?
I don't think so, because his case was, part of his case was, that immigration judge withheld his removal even after ordering to deport it to El Salvador. So that might have put him in a different category. But I know there's going to be some judges that try to bring some of these people back. But I think generally probably no. And also that the Democrats trying to bring these people back, if they see, okay, now we get to see the reality of what this guy was really about. And he wasn't the Maryland family man. He was a human smuggler, a gang member, allegedly beat his wife and all of these things. And I think it really highlighted, but one, the Democrats, where their priorities are, again, putting illegal immigrants ahead of the citizens, and also just shows just pure on hypocrisy. Now you see Senator Van Hollen has said, it was only about due process, but at the time he was calling him a Maryland family man and he was defaming ICE agents at the time. So they've changed their tune on this. But one thing that's really important is, the charge was this 2022 stop, or that was a big part of it, in Tennessee, where he was caught red-handed smuggling aliens. This was local law enforcement in Tennessee did a great job. They referred this to DHS, and this was during the Biden administration. They didn't prosecute him then because, again, they were full-on open borders and were virtually prosecuting no immigration cases. So this guy should have been prosecuted in 2022 by the Biden administration, but they didn't. So it also just highlights what they were doing and what they weren't doing. They were focusing on political prosecutions rather than things that kept the community safe. They could have gotten a gang member out of the country or at least locked up, 3 years prior, but they chose not to.
All right, Jonathan, as always, a great analysis. How can people find you on X?
John for Fairfax, JONFORFAIRFAX.
All right. Again, always great analysis. Appreciate you being with us here on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. It is 6:53. Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom coming up with the latest at 7. Joan.
Hey there. So 6 people hospitalized after a skydiving plane crashes on takeoff in Tullahoma. Also, more on Kilmar Abrego Garcia getting his day in court right here in Nashville this week. Those stories coming up here at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The Matt Murphy Show.
What's the best way to deal with this? I'm compassionate for people who have been here for a long, long time, who came in illegally, who have done nothing else illegal outside of that initial act, who have been fooled by Democrats into believing that if they lay low, that they'll be forgiven. And I think there's some people in our communities that are here illegally that believe that.
The Matt Murphy Show, today from 3 to 7 p.m.
And streaming on the Super Talk 99.7 WTN